calling all kids, calling all kids. This is Chuck E. Cheese calling all you kids out there. Now in just about 2 minutes, CEC Hialeah will be personally interviewing Scott Wilson, the former voice of several Chuck E. Cheese characters from 1982 to 1993. You guys have submitted several questions in Hialeah's community post, and he will be asking all the questions to Scott Wilson. Now before we begin, there's one thing you must know, is that due to the interview, CEC Hialeah may or may not read the chat as much, as it will be focusing on asking questions to Scott Wilson. Now, I gotta go prepare to watch this, because this is a big night. See you guys there. Ho-ho!
The following video contains strong language, sexual messages, and zesty shit that may not be suitable for viewers under the age of 13. Viewer discretion is advised. Anyways, enjoy the stream. It starts in 3 minutes.
showroom, here he is, the master of fun.
CEC Hialeah. Welcome everybody to a very special CEC Hialeah live stream. I'm CEC Hialeah, your host for the most. Welcome everybody to this very special stream. Hopefully you guys are having a wonderful day, especially when it's a Monday when we all have school. Like, I hate school. I hate school. There's like 49 days left till I graduate anyways. So, anyways. How are we all doing tonight, chat? And that's right, the title is not clickbait. In just 7 minutes from now, I will be interviewing Scott Wilson, the former voice of several Chuck E. Cheese characters from 1982 to 1983. For those of you who don't know, he's voiced Chuck E. Cheese from 1983 to 1993. He voiced Mr. Munch from 1982 to 1993. He voiced Jasper T. Giles in the January 1986 show tape, and Pasquale once in 1982 and 1984 to 1986. And he also served as an announcer for the show tapes during the early 90s, of course. So, I started early just to give a little monologue before he calls in. I gave him my number, so that way, that's how we do the interview. So, hold on. I need to clean this. Okay, there we go. Honestly, this is kind of a big night. I'm not even gonna lie. This is actually a very big night for me because, like, this is like the biggest person that I've got on this stream. Actually, he voiced Munch in 1979. No, that was Fritz Helbrin. He voiced him from 1978 to 1982. Scott didn't start voicing Munch until 1982. Please let the stream hear him. I'm gonna cut the music because I'm gonna have him on speaker and shit, you know. $1,000 if he's actually here. Bet, I got him on. So, would you consider it your biggest night ever? Honestly, yeah. I would consider this my biggest night ever. I just bought some CEC things on eBay while I waited. Nice. Okay, if it's clickbait, I'm gonna ban you. You can't ban me. Hi, Hialeah. Hi, CC bots. Scott is the best Chucky, by the way. Yes. Alright, chat. We are 5 minutes away. We're 5 minutes away. Wait, then how did Scott say in the interview he did with another CC YouTuber? I don't know. I know he's done other interviews with other YouTubers. I think he did one with Concept Cheese. I'm not sure. Hope you have a good time interviewing with him. Yes. We are now 4 minutes away, chat. Get ready. Get ready. I'd like to interview celebrities someday, as I love supporting voice actors. More unionized voice actors from Los Angeles, California. Covered by SAG after. Oh, I forgot my teacher's supposed to be watching this. Hi, miss. If you're watching this stream, hi. I got an interview with Scott Wilson. Hi. I'll see you tomorrow in school. Oh, look, she's watching right now. The teacher? One of my favorite teachers, of course. Also, one of my teachers was teaching the class about, John Pork. Why? Anyways, I got this Chuck E. Cheese 30 shirt from my I think that was for my 16th birthday in 2020. 2023? Yeah, 2023. Hi, teacher entity. Yes! Thank you! Miss! Hi, teacher entity! How's bro able to contact Scott Wilson? Okay, so a little background. I try to contact several voice actors, past and present, to see if they would like to do an interview with me sometime. This is during, like, the Cyberstar Chuck collab stream. Oh, his grades are gonna be cooked. Oh, my grades are not cooked. Don't worry about it. It's all good. Anyways, Scott Wilson was the only one that replied out of all of them. I asked Bob West, Jarrett Reddick, Earl Fisher, and Duncan Brandon. Scott was the only one that replied in the span of 2 minutes. And then we got into setting up the time and shit. So, boom. That's how we were able to get the interview. I contacted him last night. And he said that tonight at 8 o'clock was good. Which is 7 p.m. for him. Because he's in Central Time. Hialeah, what's your favorite NFL team? I don't have one. No one gave a fuck about me on the stream, bro. Come on. I apologize. Alright, chat, we are 2 minutes away. 1 minute away. 1 minute away from the interview starting. Chat, again, please be advised, I will not be reading the chat during the stream. Mind you this. Hialeah, I hope you enjoy doing this. I am gonna enjoy doing this. This is a big night for me. Say hi to me. Hi, Odin. Better start putting that money in the bag when Scott Wilson shows up, bro. Imagine Mother Entity or Grandma Entity interrupting. I told them, chill out in the house. This is important. We do not need any background noise. We're all good. It's time. We're just gonna wait for him to shoot in the call. Can you ask him to do the voice, please? I'm gonna ask him. There we go, chat. Hello?
Hello, this Scott.
Yes. I'm CEC Hialeah. Chat, here we are.
Awesome. Very good.
How are you doing today?
I'm doing very well, thank you. How about yourself?
I'm doing great. I'm graduating in a month and a half, 49 days.
From
High school.
Oh, okay. Right on. You gonna go to college or?
Nah, I think I'm gonna start working at Chuck E. Cheese in my local.
Okay.
Which opened in 1991. Like, you were the voice of Chuck E. Cheese during that time.
Correct.
Yes.
Correct. Yeah. Yep. Long time ago.
Mm-hmm. Somebody said, not clickbait. That's his dad. I don't have a dad.
Say that again?
Somebody said that this is clickbait and that that's my dad on the phone. I'm like, that's not my dad. I don't have one.
All right.
All right, chat. Can you hear him? Can you hear him?
Can I hear who?
No, I'm asking my viewers if they can hear.
Oh, okay. Awesome.
I must say, I'm impressed. He wasn't lying. No way. Alright, chat. Shall we get started?
We can get started. All right. Why don't you kind of let me know the format and what you're doing and
Basically, yes. I'm basically a few weeks ago when we set this up, I asked my viewers to submit some questions to you.
Okay.
Like, basically about like how your time was, what are you doing now, your thoughts on the company today. Because, you know, now Chuck E. Cheese is approaching its 50th anniversary next year.
It is, yes. So, why don't you, before we get started, tell me a little bit about your audience and what you're doing, so that I can have a little bit of context of who we're all talking with. And I mean, but I'd love to know more about it.
So my viewers are like very chill. They're just listening in. They've been looking forward to this,
Very good.
and yeah, they're all chill. I told them I'm not really going to be reading the chat most of the time because I'm going to be focused.
Very good. And these are all Chuck E. Cheese fans and
Yes, they are all
followers.
Chuck E. Cheese fans.
Great.
All right.
Awesome. Well, yeah, let's get started with absolutely.
I,
So go ahead and fire away, and I'll answer to the best of my ability.
all right. So first question comes from Jasper T. Huntington, and he says, "Why did they let you go for Duncan Brandon? Like, you know how you like, I don't know if they let you go in 1993, but
Yeah, it was. They had a lot of internal, let's call it power players at Chuck E. Cheese, and I think there was some philosophical differences, as they say. And I've been doing it 18, 19 years plus. I mean, long time. And so they, a gentleman by the name of Gene Cram at the time, wanted to exercise his philosophical power, as they say. So he decided to make that change.
mm. Also, I had a personal question. Like in 2014 or 2013, Chuck E. Cheese did a show, like a little segment called Hell and Henny's Hollywood, like a revival of the series that happened in the early 90s. And there was this voice that sounded similar to you. I'm not sure if it was you doing the same voice or was it somebody else doing like an impression of your voice.
Not sure, because I wasn't part of that. I mean, I definitely didn't record anything for it, but it wouldn't surprise me if they took, some other voices and made something to to accomplish whatever it was. But I've never heard it, so it would be hard for me to comment on that.
Mm. Also, Jeff Marks 1996 asks, "Do you remember when you worked with Clarissa McKinney and Bob West on show tapes?"
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. Carlisa, I still am in touch with Carlisa to this very day.
Mm.
She's up in Colorado, happily married. She's a grandmother, and so yeah, she's her and Cody got married, and Cody worked on a lot of the production when we were shooting the videos. So yeah, and Bob, I briefly touched base with him a few years back, but I haven't been in touch with him for a while. But yes, I do remember those, and I remember bringing Carlisa on. There was other people doing the voice of Helen, and I brought Carlisa in to do that voice. So that was in my tenure of production that Carlisa actually started doing the voice.
Nice. And I could speak for everyone, and we're very happy for Carlisa.
Yeah, she's a good gal.
Yeah.
She's really a sweetheart.
Alright, next up, CEC USA asks, "Did you like voicing the characters?"
I've done voiceover for a long time. And yes, I always, of course, enjoyed it. As it got more into the production side of things, sometimes, because of what was going on from the video shoots to other shows to other, tasks that needed to be done, not only for Chucky, but some other things I was working on. It got to be where it would be not as a priority as I used to make it when I was doing just the voices or just the character. But, I always enjoyed it. Once I got into the studio and we started, it was always a lot of fun.
That's very interesting.
Yeah.
Next up, CC Washington asks, "What was it like to be a part of Chuck E. Cheese?"
Well, Chucky evolved in a lot of ways over the years. When it started, it was, just a concept, an idea that Nolan Bushnell had to help, because he was also the owner of Atari. So Atari needed an outlet to sell their games, and Chuck E. Cheese was a potential outlet to do that, which it did become. And so, when it started, it was a lot more, or let's say, a lot less corporate. Everything was just spontaneous, and somebody had a good idea, you went out and did it. So there was a lot less oversight, if you will. I mean, there were definitely people in charge, and they were running the show and the production and all that, but it was very much a collaborative environment when we were first starting. As it got more and more corporate, especially once it came out to Texas here from California, and all of the Steak and Ale Corporation people got involved, then it became a little bit more rigid, and the creative was, overseen by not only the corporate, but then you had a body of franchisees that also were part of the oversight of production and what was, passable, what wasn't, and all that. So a lot more accountability as the years went on. But the beginning was just, we were just having fun, doing show tapes of this, funky rat and his friends, if you will. So there was a lot of evolution in Chuck E. Cheese, and nothing like today. Today he's a polished corporate, entity that's extremely, how would you say? I don't know any other word other than the corporate. It's, there's a lot of making sure that, he's definitely not a rat like he was back in the beginning.
Yeah, of course. They changed him into a mouse like when he got redesigned in 2012.
Yeah, they really, before they would start calling him a mouse when I was there, or definitely I was asked not to refer to him as a rat. So I don't think they ever used the term mouse till much later. But when Richard's group got a hold of it and they went very corporate, it was definitely, they tried to Disneyize him, if you will, or turn him into something that was like I said, a lot more generic, commercial, safe, if you will. So that's how the evolution has come from way back when.
All right. The next question comes from Studio Charles 09, and he says, "What do you think about modern day Chuck E. Cheese? Like, have you ever checked on what they're doing?"
I've seen snippets of what they're doing, and it's you look at different characters throughout time, and all the way to not only just characters that we see in cartoons, Mickey Mouse, Bugs Bunny, things like that, but also restaurant type characters. The only one I can think of that comes to mind quickly is obviously Ronald McDonald and the changes and the evolution he's had. But it's definitely a property that is, I don't know that it had the strength of a standalone character. I know that there's always been, in fact, back in the day when I was doing it, there was always an attempt to see if Chucky could be commercially viable in the entertainment type of genre, i.e. cartoons, Saturday morning, whatever. But I don't think the character today is strong enough to do it. I think he's a corporate character that has been pretty much finessed into representing a brand, and he represents a brand, but I wouldn't say he has the strength to carry, any kind of property, Saturday morning, Disney style cartoon, not with a lot better writing and more character development for sure.
Yeah, so like basically a lot of the CEC fans don't really like what Chuck E. Cheese is doing now, like removing animatronics. The company's like starting to use AI for their characters. Like basically the originality for Chuck E. Cheese is gone to the point like a lot of fans are speculating that Chuck E. Cheese will not last to their 50th anniversary. Like at any point this year, they could file for bankruptcy again and this time be gone for good.
Yeah, it's it again. The audience has changed as well. You got to remember, back in the day, when I remember going to the first Chuck E. Cheese over on Winchester Boulevard, in a little mall called Town and Country Village, and it was a novelty. And I wasn't part of that first generation. I hadn't come on until 6 months later, maybe 8 months later, something like that. But when we went over there, and it was literally a couple blocks from my house, so for me to walk over there, I could have, I did, and walked in and just saw this dark room with these animatronics on the wall coming on every 5 to 10 minutes, doing a 2 minute bit, and thinking, whoa, this is weird. At the time, I wasn't a little kid, but it was a novelty. It was very much a novelty. And the reasoning, that back in that day, the pizza joints, you had pizza joints that had types of entertainment, whether it was a big, huge pipe organ that somebody'd come in and play, or, showing old W.C. Fields movies on a projector, or, they were always looking for some sort of ways to entertain while you sat there and ate your pizza. So this was something that was developed by the guys, and just thought, well, let's do these. This is novelty, and it was something that they thought added value to the experience. And there's always been, especially after the corporation, Steak and Ale guys bought it, because you had Showbiz Pizza, which was, a large franchisee of Chuck E. Cheese that, broke off and did their own thing. So, and they mimicked the Chuck E. Cheese shows with adding their characters of Fats and all those guys on their stage. So I don't know that there was always an entity within the corporation that owned Chuck E. that wondered, is this a value? Because I know what they were paying to do these shows and to keep them up and to keep up the animatronics, which wasn't cheap. That stuff was breaking down all the time. So you were constantly had to keep a tech, not just a game tech, but a tech that would check those animatronics, because they weren't digital. They were, analog animatronics. So those things were always needing maintenance and upkeep. So it was expensive to keep those things going. And so, whether it was a value back in the day, I think in the beginning it was. I think the first 10, 15 years it was. But as they started going towards video, and I was the first one to produce video, and it was, mine and Jules' idea, saying, hey, let's bring in another element to the stage so that you could, kind of, create another dimension within the stage and the entertainment piece, which was the video. So, and there was always discussion, you've got the band on the stage, but yet you got the characters in the video. Is that, is the kid going to get confused? And it's like, you ever watch, old children's shows? no, kids aren't going to get confused. They don't ask stupid questions like why is he there and not there and whatever. So that was never an issue, but it was expensive. It was an expensive venture, and I know after I left, the guys that were doing the entertainment, I mean, they were getting paid a lot of money to put out those shows, and so it doesn't surprise me that they get rid of the shows and turn it into just another pizza restaurant that shows sports and whatever else, and it's just happens to be called Chuck E. Cheese, But does it go bankrupt because of that? I think the thing that they really focused in on was the birthday parties. That was their money makers. They would have, they'd run, a couple dozen birthday parties in a weekend through that place, and that's where they really made their money.
All right. So my next question, like for me, I wanted to ask, how did you become the voice of Chuck E. Cheese? Like, I think you started out on the canceled The Christmas That Almost Wasn't special, like when John Whitelock was still the voice of Chuck E. Cheese.
So I was doing the singing voice. John Whitlock couldn't sing. And so when Gene Patrick was producing him, he was very, singing centric. I mean, and John just couldn't sing. I mean, at least Scott Paulin and Joe and Nancy could at least carry a tune. John couldn't find a tune if it was sitting right in front of him. I mean, it was really hard, and it took a long time. And again, you're in the studio and you're trying to, we would have John and Nancy and Joe would come in from Hollywood, and we'd only have a limited amount of time with those guys. And so, when you're struggling to try to get, not only cohesion, but to get everybody down on tape, and, you're running out of time because one of the characters couldn't carry a tune, it got to be, So I started doing the singing voice of Chucky, and then the final straw was the Christmas thing. The producer at the time, who was a Disney producer, they brought in to try to put a 2-minute show reel together to try to sell the Christmas to networks. He lost his cool and just came barge. I had been there doing some other work for Elves. I think I was there doing some work, and he came barging in, and he just looked at me, and, John was struggling with that tune that he had, which I can't even remember the name of it. And he just looked at me and said, "Can you do that?" And I said, "Yeah." So I laid it down in one take, and I think Nolan was in the booth at the time. And the story I heard, and I don't know if this is true or not, but the story I heard was Nolan said, "That's my new Chuck E. Cheese." So, but, that's, again, I wasn't in the studio. I was actually in the recording booth.
All right, so
from then on, I was doing Chucky.
Nice. So the next question comes from Get Spudge Rolled, and he said, "How did you manage to change Chucky's personality after you became the new voice for him? Like, you are known for like giving Chuck E. Cheese his iconic personality that he is known for today." Because, like, back then, when John was voicing him, he was like a wisecracking bully, but then you came in and you changed his whole personality.
Yeah, the direction that, was given to me was we needed to soften him up a bit, and we needed to make him more global, if you will. So that came from everything from the energy and the voice quality and just the way he interacted with the other characters. And, Chucky was always the one that, he would let the others, do the jokes at his expense. He wasn't, I wouldn't call him self-deprecating, but he wasn't afraid to let the others have, the jokes and let the others rue the day on the wisecracks and all that. Chucky navigated through and let everybody else kind of have their time. And so That was kind of the direction we took Chucky in that we let him be able to just, enjoy the himself and enjoy his friends and enjoy what he was doing and not be getting anybody else's way and or get down on anybody else. There was kind of the optimism, the optimistic guy that just, was, hey, this is fun. This is, nothing's too serious, but yet we want to enjoy ourselves and everybody have fun.
All right. So now the next question comes from Simon Says, and he says, "What do you think about concept unification? Like that was a huge part of during your tenure at Chuck E. Cheese.
Say that again. Which one?
Like what do you think about concept unification?"
Oh, concept unification. So if I remember right, that was when they took everything and tried to make it all the same. If I remember right, I'm maybe refresh my memory on, because I remember the term and I remember it was a big deal, but the goal. If you could remind me what was that goal, and I'm sure once I hear it all, but I do remember that started with Jewel, and she was the head of that, and continued through Jim and Gene and everybody else, but I don't remember exactly what it was, other than I know bringing everybody in line with a consistent, brand. I mean, that's the only word I can come up with, and the way the identity of the way everybody is. I know the other thing was, and I don't know where this came from, but the SNA guys, the Steak and Ale guys, who actually they were more pro showbiz. Do y'all know the reason why showbiz characters lost out to Chuck E. Cheese?
Hmm.
So you remember in the mid '80s when Showbiz and Chuck E. merged, right?
Yes.
Okay. The Steak and Ale guys who were actually running the show, they were the guys that were holding all the pieces together. They wanted to keep the other characters, the showbiz characters.
Right.
They wanted to dump Chuck.
Wow, that would have been bad.
Yeah, well, the reason they didn't was because they didn't own the characters. Aaron Fector owned the characters.
Yeah, and then he didn't want to give up the rights, right?
Well, he didn't want to give up the rights, and he didn't want to. I mean, if he did, he wanted to sell them for, an arm and a leg. And at that time, there was no money. I mean, these guys, they went bankrupt, and they were month to month. I mean, I had heard stories about just making payroll at that time. So there wasn't a lot of money to go out there and go, yeah, Aaron, we'll buy you out. Here's $2 million. Thanks very much. But I think he always wanted to stay involved too, and they, but at a high pay rate, if I remember right. But again, this. So they owned Chuck E. Cheese, so they were like, well, let's keep the character we own. I mean, so there was a move to redress all the old showbiz characters into Chuck E. Cheese characters. So that's when you saw all the standing, full body characters reimagined in Chuck E. Cheese characters. So if I remember right, I think that was part of the concept unification, was that where it all came out and they moved all showbiz into Chuck E. Cheese characters. Because at that time, Chuck E. Cheese, they were only half-body characters. There was no full-body characters in the Chucky world. They were either off the wall or they were half characters.
All right. So my next question, this is like for a lot of viewers that have asked this. Are you still able to do the voice of Chuck E. Cheese?
Am I still able?
Yeah.
You mean like can I do the voice?
Yeah, like
Yeah, I I could do it.
For example, could you say subscribe to CEC Hialeah as Chuck E. Cheese?
Subscribe to CEC Hialeah.
Yeah, as Chuck E. Cheese.
All right, everybody, subscribe to Chuck E. Cheese CEC Hialeah.
That was wonderful. That was actually wonderful.
Well, there you go.
Like, I did an impression in the stream intro, like similar to your the line you said during the countdown of the Chucky Live from 1988. I'm like, that CC Hialeah is gonna interview Scott Wilson this stream. How was that?
That was pretty good. Yeah, you got it. That's pretty good.
A lot of people say that I do like a very accurate impression of the current Pasquale voice.
Yeah, the Pasquale was always a tough one. There were times that I'd be asked to fill in. I could never do Jasper, but Pasquale I could kind of get close to. Then, of course, I was Munch, so, Munch 1 and Munch 2. So that was me, but I could never do Jasper. So that was always a tough one. And, in the beginning, you had some Hollywood guys coming in and doing that. I mean, they were actors. I mean, these guys were working actors down in LA. So, these guys were no slouches on their own right, let alone doing these Chuck E. Cheese voices. So I think Nancy's still working, and I don't know where Joe Spano is.
I haven't heard from him.
Yeah. And Scott Paulin. And, like I said, I haven't checked in with them in many, many years. But, yeah, so, but, we had to change, and that's when Bob West came in and, did both Jasper and Pasquale, and that was good because, again, he was readily available. He was in Texas. They tried to get somebody else in Texas to do Chucky, but that show tape, I don't even think that show tape ever went out. I think who nixed it was all the...
Hold on, can you pause for a second? Can somebody ban the hi guy for me who's being rude in the chat? Thank you. Anyways, proceed.
Yeah. So that was a good move to bring in Bob. And then I think they kept Nancy doing Helen. So they'd fly her in. And then they brought somebody else who was a local jingle singer who would do the singing, but I don't think she ever did the talking voice. I don't know. I might be confused, but so there was a time there for a couple of years, 3 years, where that's when David Wolf produced. Then we had David was after the other guy, Rush Beasley. So Rush Beasley came in. And then David Wolf took over for a couple of years, and then I took it from David.
Alright. So, my teacher who's watching the stream asks, what advice do you have for modern CEC fans?
Modern, so, I mean, it's amazing that the youth today gravitate to this character. And I can't explain it. I don't know why. It being a novelty and being, it's odd that more people don't talk about it as much as other things that have been around 50 years, because it is an anomaly and it is kind of odd. And there was a time it was the second most popular character representing a restaurant, other than Ronald McDonald. So that's pretty hefty company. But today's Chuck E. Cheese fans, I mean, it's great that there's all this content out there, that people have put together to watch and listen and to, and I've played it back, here and there for friends and all that stuff. And it was, I mean, I will tell you, I'm very proud of the years that we did some of the musical production from, with Lee and John Kerry and Charles, and I mean, some of that stuff is really good. I mean, I'd put it up there with some of the stuff I watch and see the little kid stuff on TV today. I mean, I would put our stuff up there with that in a heartbeat. And I think, you put it side by side by some of this stuff, I think it would win the day. But, I mean, it's, we tried hard to make the character as viable and as strong of a quality experience, listening and viewing as we could, and I know that it was always a battle. Those shows were always, they were played within context of a very loud restaurant where nobody was necessarily listening. It was background music, background video, background noise. So, but I would always say, just go listen to those shows without all that background, and they're good. I mean, they're a good production value and good performances, great music, great arrangements. I would put those 3-4 years as probably the best stuff Chuck E. Cheese ever put out, and that even goes back to the early days when we were doing it with Gene and with Rush and with Wolf. I mean, there was some of the good stuff, but I think the best stuff that we did was that 90 to 94, 93, 94, probably early 94 was my last stuff that came out. And I put that birthday song as one of the top songs ever. Just it's very classic. It's when I tell people that I was involved with that, I mean, there's a lot of people that go, "You mean clap your hands, stomp your feet?" I mean, they remember it. So it's it's got some legs, got some stickiness to it. But today's Chuck E. Cheese fan, yeah, I would always invite you, encourage you to go back and listen to that stuff. It's pretty good stuff.
Honestly, I say that's great. I know my parents did grow up with that. I grew up with like later Duncan Brannon, but I mostly grew up with the current voice, Jarrett Reddick.
Yeah, Jerry. Yeah.
Like, what do you think about his voice of Chuck E. Cheese? Like, one thing that
it's just a different interpretation. It's like saying, what do I think of the original Ronald McDonald versus today's Ronald McDonald? I mean, they're just different interpretations, and you got to remember that, they have input as well coming to them of how to, what he needs to sound like, and they have writers and things that contribute to their overall interpretation of the character. So, it's not a holistic, I'm going to do, this is me and it's all me. It's a collaborative affair, and it was with me too, as well. I mean, I just interpreted and projected at input, direction, and advice that I was given, and so it was all collaboration. It wasn't just Scott Wilson decided to do this and that's it. So these guys have the same, I'm sure, situation where they're collaborating and performing to a certain set of directions and criteria that they're told that needs to happen. So, that's good for them. I mean, they're obviously doing it. They're called back to do it again. So there's some success level there somewhere.
Mm-hmm. CEC Legacy 07 asks, what was your favorite song to record at CEC?
Well, there was a few. The birthday song I've always enjoyed.
Such a classic.
Yeah, it's just so good. Some of the live Chuck E. Cheese stuff, and I can't remember the stuff, but some of the live Chuck E. Live songs. I enjoyed doing Greatest Star from Funny Girl. a version of that for Chucky. Um, let's see. I mean, but probably the Chucky Live stuff. But I mean, I definitely have. I didn't do them, but there's some great original songs that Charles wrote. Um, you know, Save Me from Extinction. I always like that song.
Oh, Charles Stewart did a great job on that singing. I don't know
Yeah,
how he does it.
yeah, he did that. And then the other one was the one with the basketball player and the little kid, and we brought in a gospel choir. I mean, that's a quality piece. Um, that again, original songs. I loved Anna Gray's version of Pink Corvette or Little Red Corvette. Sorry, Little Red Corvette.
Hmm.
That was really good.
Honestly, her
Uh,
singing voice is so amazing.
yeah, she was something special. Um, and that was fun to shoot. Because we shot in film that whole thing. So we were up at we were driving that Corvette around California at 2 or 3 in the morning.
That was like at the San Jose location in Fontaine Road.
Correct, Tully Road. And then Twinkle Twinkle was another one that was really I really enjoyed that. Um, again, that was the first Chucky video that we shot in film, not video. So which takes 10 times longer. So we were up. I had those kids up. I'm surprised the parents didn't shoot me, but I had those kids doing that dance in an alleyway in Deep Ellum, which has now all been, fixed up and done. But that was when Deep Ellum was in shambles, and we went out to an alley and shot those 10 kids doing the dance up there. So that was a good one. That was fun.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of great experiences, a lot of great. The Christmas one was again one of my favorites.
I like the Share the Joy song.
Yeah, Share the Joy, that was good. Santa Claus is Coming to Town, that was a lot of fun.
Mm-hmm.
That whole Christmas tape, that was a great show. That was a really good. Again, just go listen to it. Just sit there and listen to it. Watch the video, and just listen. I mean, turn it up and listen to the arrangements. Listen to the orchestra. I mean, it's amazing. It's just they're just so well done, and the arrangements that Lee did are phenomenal. And just when you go back and you listen to them like that, it's it's a fun experience.
Alright, so my teacher, who's on my school's YouTube channel page, is asking, what are you doing like now after Chuck E. Cheese?
Well, I don't do voiceovers anymore. I mean, it's I live out in Texas, between Austin and Houston, a small little town. I do antiques as a hobby and some other things, just other little projects, and got married and got some kids and a couple grandkids, and we're just hanging out, enjoying life. I mean, it's fun reminiscing, but I mean, people ask, oh, you should go back and do it, or I was like, oh, been there, done that. Got the T-shirt, got several T-shirts, so.
Alright, so next up, Blue Box FNAF asks, why did you decide to come back during the Pizza Time Theater era after you got replaced? Which I think they're referring to, like, the time you got replaced by Lonnie Wilder during the History of Rock and Roll show tape back in May of '86.
Yeah, that was, I don't know why that was done. And I think that was just, try something different. Again, you got to remember, back in those days, there was still, like I said, there was a lot of autonomy. But I think that particular was a, Rush Beasley trying to keep it all in Texas kind of thing. So they why I decided. I mean, they called me and said, "Hey, the franchises are throwing fits. They want the original Chucky back." So it was really the franchisees, like the corporation got calls from everybody saying, "Bring this guy back." They didn't like the other guy at all. So, and that's when they called me. So, again, they were trying to save money, make it easier. So when they moved everything to Texas, including the production, to fly somebody in from California and pay him, what they were paying me, that was expensive, and they were trying to cut wherever they could, and it was quite a salary cut, even though I came back and did it. I wasn't getting paid near as much as I did when I was doing it in California.
Mm-hmm. According to rumors, I've heard like rumors saying that this whole thing happened because of like the move from the CEC corporate move from California to Texas.
Yeah. That's what I mean. They wanted to keep everything in Texas based. And Rush Beasley, the guy that was producing it at the time, he was a Texas based producer. He had a studio, and so he wanted to keep everything in Texas, which again, because he was given a budget, so he had to adhere to a budget, and part of the budget was not paying some guy to fly from California, put him up for 3 days, and and then fly him back. That was adding a couple $3,000 to the tab, and and also just making sure that schedules and all that other stuff, where when you had somebody in Texas, I mean, let's say a pickup line needed to be done or whatever, I mean, it's easier to call somebody who lives a couple miles away than somebody who's 2,000 miles away. So it was a lot easier to keep it located in Texas. But they got the change with Bob. They got the change with letting him replace Joe and Scott. They got the change with Nancy, with the girl Helen. But the Chucky, they were like, no. They pushed back on that, and they said, no. I mean, we'll give you everything else, but we want Scott. So that's what they went.
I know they also replaced Munch, but I don't know who the voice actor is. Some people say it's also Lonnie, but other people are saying it's unknown who voiced him. Like it was an unknown employee.
Yeah, I don't know who it is either, and again, I've just heard sound bits. Munch is another character that evolved because of the fondness for the Fats character in showbiz. They thought, well, let's change Munch into more Fats and try to appease the showbiz side of the coin. Looking back, I mean, it was definitely a lot easier on my voice to do the second Munch, because the other one was, that was tough. But looking back, I think that was just corporate execs. They had the preference, but not necessarily. I don't think the audience was writing letters and making phone calls going, we don't like the Munch, we want him to sound like Fat. I think that was just a corporate, somebody was pulling their own weight around. So I think it was all BS, but that's just me.
Rata Chilena sent in a $2 donation. I send my regards to Scott. Hope he's doing great.
Well, thank you. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. Appreciate y'all. Again, I know I sound like a broken record, but I would love y'all just go back and listen to that, and I don't know, I'll tell, I'm in touch with Charles a lot, Carlisa and Lee. I'll let them know we had this time together, and just if there's ways to reach out to them and to tell them how much you enjoyed, their work. I mean, that's what we all did this for, is the enjoyment of it. It wasn't, I mean, yeah, we got paid, but I mean, didn't make us, millionaires by any means. And we always kid around that with music today and rights and things like that. If we had a nickel for every time the birthday song was played, we'd be millionaires. So.
All right. The same CEC Legacy also asked another question. Like, if you're still able to do Munch's 90s voice.
The you mean the hello Jackie, how you doing? There's so much. Yeah.
Yeah, that one.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
Speaking of that voice, how were you able to change up Munch's voice from like the original version to like this Fats Geronimo version?
Yeah, that was they tried to get the guy that did that to come in and do Munch for Chucky, but I guess Aaron Fechter had a control on him, and so
I think that's Burt Wilson.
yeah, Burt Wilson.
He sadly passed away in 2023.
Oh, did he? Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, but they tried to get Burt to come in and do it, but Aaron Fechter said, "Well, you do that, you'll never work for me again." And so, Aaron had a pretty tight reins on him, and so he didn't do it. So, anyway, they told me just learn it, and I got pretty damn close. I mean, it wasn't exactly that, but it was close enough. And like I said, in the context of where these were played and how you were listening to them and all the other stuff that was going on during the shows, it was definitely passable by far.
Rata Chilena also asks, like, if you have any information about the international Spanish dubs for the Chilean locations in the 90s.
I don't have any of that. All the show tapes and everything. I did send. I send all the digital stuff to a guy in Florida, Pasquale something. So pretty much everything I had, masters and things like that, I sent off to him, and I think he re-digitized everything, and so I've got very little, if anything. I mean, I might have some video stuff, but other than that, I don't have really that much in my possession anymore. I have some, some early Peeler Rose stuff, some things that are,
like cells?
Peeler Rose. Yeah, cells. And I've got the first cell that they did of the Chucky intro. And a couple other pieces, but other than that, I don't have much.
Alright, so the next question, that Archingo says, what was it like voicing the characters for like Celebration Station and Bullwinkles? Also, do you have a favorite voice that you've done besides Chuck E. Cheese?
I've always liked doing Bullwinkle too. I really enjoyed that. That was fun. I enjoyed my time Celebration Station. Bullwinkles was a blast. That was fun. It just that was, of course, that was a more known character, so you had to be really right on with Bullwinkle because everybody knew what Bullwinkle sounded like. So, but the Celebration Station, I just kind of made that one up as I went. So I, Harry the Hound, and I don't know that I did. I don't know. I can't remember. It's been so long. But yeah, those were fun. I mean, they wasn't as many of those, but and they only had, I think, 8 locations, if I remember right, maybe 10. But yeah, those were enjoyable, and like I said, I love the Bullwinkle. That was a gas, and I did Dudley Do Right too.
Yeah. All right. So the next question comes from SRG1 Animation, and let's just say Chuck E. Cheese does like a special project with old voice actors for their 50th anniversary next year. Would you return to the voice of Chuck E. Cheese if you want the old Chucky to be back, like the early tuxedo version?
You know, hey, look, if they called and asked me to come in and participate and do that, of course I would do that. Yeah, absolutely. I've heard rumor that they've entertained, bringing, you know, doing something, but again, rumor's always rumor. But it's always up to fans and always up to people. Like I'm not going to go out and you know, uh, try to make that happen. But if there's somebody comes in, again, I'm surprised there hasn't been more of a retrospective. I did a public radio thing about a year ago, 2 years ago, radio interview, and she asked a lot of great questions about the old days and how I think she was covering off on more of just that time in Silicon Valley. So Chuck E. Cheese was such an important component of Silicon Valley in the 80s. So that was kind of the approach she was taking. This was just one part of the whole experience. But yeah, absolutely. If I don't even know where the corporation or where the mothership is anymore. I know the last touch point I had with Chuck E. Cheese as a corporate was I had lunch with Mike Magusiak, who was the last president. And he was the one that was telling me that they were going to the Richards Group to have Chucky produced from then on. So we went to lunch, and he told me that he took over from Dick Frank.
Yeah. A lot of people want something big for their 50th anniversary, though a lot of other people have said they probably won't do anything because of how low their budget is. Like, they're in serious amount of debt, like $1.5 billion. And whatever CEC says, you can't really basically trust them because, like, Chuck E. Cheese has basically been lying to fans in, like, recent days. Like, Mark Kupferman has said stuff, and then it turns out to be a lie.
Interesting. And is he the guy running the corporation now, Mark Kupferman?
He's the marketing exec. There's a new CEO, Scott Drake. He just took over for David McKillips back in February.
Okay. And where are they based out of?
I'm not sure. Like, Scott Drake was previously the chief financial officer since 2024, which is basically when Chuck E. Cheese started going in depth.
Yeah. So, but are they still on Texas, or I heard they went?
Yeah, they've been in Texas for like 40 years.
Okay, so they're still in Texas. All right, because I know the Irving office isn't open anymore. I mean, I drive by there.
They just moved to a new office. Like, the animatronics actually got taken out in March.
Gotcha. Yeah. So yeah, I haven't heard from any of the. It's amazing, that there hasn't been, at least an overture to try to, play to the generation that takes kids to Chuck E. Cheese, which would have been my, the latter part of my generation anyway. But like I said again, I'm not a corporate. I don't do that kind of stuff. So I think they just need to reimagine Chuck E. Cheese and really make it all about the brand and not worry. I mean, the entertainment's easy to do. You could do that, and you could sandwich, Chucky segments into general television. But, you got to look at kids' TV today. I mean, I was just watching with my granddaughter Blippi. I mean, they're 13, 14-minute segments. They're not full programs. They're just segments. They're long forms of the little shows that we used to do, and with some dialogue and interviews. But that's it. So it's a different genre. So Chucky, it needs to go back to just being the brand and start with that, and then move forward with how do you carry that brand through the experience of being in a restaurant. So and that's because when you look at McDonald's, you've got two really forms of the way they address things. You got the Ronald McDonald and the kids and that family thing, and then you've got the serious McDonald's of the more adult-driven types of commercials. So Chucky needs to attack it the same way, I think, if they're going to stay viable. I mean, how many locations they have? Do they still have 300-400 locations? Or are they?
They have like 600 locations in the U.S. Though there's like a lot of locations that are starting to close recently since 2024.
Right.
We just had like 4 locations close like about a week or two.
Wow. Yeah, I don't know. But obviously, if somebody called, I would definitely, talk. No harm in that, right?
Mm-hmm. Like, the show tapes have started to decline recently. Like, Chuck E. Cheese hasn't done any songs in, like, over a year. Like, that's how bad the budget is.
Yeah. Well, they were paying an arm and a leg for those show tapes. Compared to what I was charging for those things and what they were paying after I left was, a huge jump.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's, they were a lot more fiscally responsible during the times I was, and I probably I was the same. Trust me, I hammered my vendors in the production side of it to work with me as best they could. But what was good about it was constant. We were doing 5 or 6 new show tapes a year, so that was constant. We'd finish one and be ready to start on another one. So it was, that's why the vendors liked it, because it was just constant work.
Yeah. Rata Chilena also says that today's his father's 56th birthday. Since Chuck E. Cheese arrived in Chile in the 90s, he became a CEC fan. Sort of, Scott Wilson was like you were his favorite Chuck, and he'd love to hear Scott to saying hi to him. His name is Chris. Would you like to say happy birthday to him as Chuck E. Cheese?
Chris?
Yes.
All right. Well, hello, Chris. It's your old pal, Chuck E. Cheese. And I just want to wish you a happy birthday. And I hope you're having a good one. Thanks for all your support. And make it a great day, all right?
That was good. All right, a couple more.
Well, listen. A couple more questions, and I got to run.
Yeah, me too. I gotta go to bed soon. Like, I have school in the morning.
All right.
All right, let's do 2 more questions. Do you own any memorabilia from CEC?
Like I said, I have a few little things, Chuck E. Cheese doll, and that Pila Rose, they used to custom make those things before they put them out. So I have one that was custom made by Pila Rose. I've got some cells. I got a shirt. I've got one of the original Kids Club shirts. There were only 10 of them made, or 12. I don't know. There were 10 kids. So I got one of the 10 or 11 shirts. Those were hand done by airbrush. I have, a few little things. Nothing major. I don't have, I don't have any of the animatronic pieces or walk-around characters or any of that stuff.
All right. Now for the final question. A lot of people wanted this to be saved for last, and it's an important question. Is this how you'd like to be remembered? And if there's something else you would like to be remembered for?
Well, it's always nice to be remembered for joy that you brought into the lives of people. So, that's always a good thing. But, I want to be remembered as a good husband and dad and grandkid dad and good friend. But from this part of a career, the fact that you brought joy to so many people, that's always a great thing, that you could be remembered for. And so that's obviously something that I'll always cherish. Those were great times. 15, 16, 17 years, I don't know, go back to, I think the first Chucky gig I did was Munch and some ancillary characters back in, want to say 77, 78, something like that. So, you know, and all the way to late 93. And, you know, so, yeah, it was a lot of fun. We did a lot of great work and met a lot of great people. And it was, you know, fun to produce some great content. And I still enjoy looking at it. So, but yes, I that's always great to be remembered from somebody who was able to bring a lot of joy and fun to people, and also to the people that worked on our shows. That was, you know, we tried to make it a good experience for everybody. You know, it definitely wasn't rock star pay by any means, but you know, we tried to make it fun, and so those relationships that I had with the people that were working on these projects. Like I said, I still stay in touch with a few of them, and those are friends that I'll have for the rest of my life.
Alright, and one more thing. Nathan Ichi says, can you say hello to him in his Chucky voice?
Nathan?
Yes.
Yeah. All right, and I'll sign off here. I'm going to hang up after this, okay?
Alright.
All right. Well, hello, everybody, and especially to you, Nathan. It's been great to talk to everybody, and thank you for your questions. I really enjoyed this, and I will talk to you all later, and especially you, CEC Hialeah.
Of course, Chucky. Alright, see you, Scott.
Bye-bye.
Thank you for your time. Well, chat, what do we all think? What do we all think? Oh, this is going in the history books. This is going in the fucking history books.
You did great.
Thank you, Mother Entity. I appreciate you. I appreciate you. Anyways, let's do a little bit of reflection on the stream, you know, for the last 5 minutes. A quick little thing, because I got school in the morning. W, thank you. W, Scott. Thank you, Scott. W, Hialeah. My father's so happy. Thank you. Thanks, Chucky. The E totally stands for entertainment. Yes, awesome. This one right here. Peak by Scott. W, Scott. Let's fucking go. Everyone say, chat. I was here. Everybody say I was here. I might make it into a video. I might. But, like, if my phone has enough storage. If not, I'll try to get someone to edit it and put it together in a video. Hi, Brother Entity. You did a great job. I don't know if I could say your name, but thank you, Teacher Entity.
Who?
Teacher Entity. I was here. Everybody was here. Well, for a bit. I was freaking here, buddy. I can't believe it. Scott Wilson shouted me out. I was here. Exactly.
Oh.
People were telling me they were going to donate $100 if it was the real Scott Wilson.
I think that was not true. I think they just, you know. Yeah, but it doesn't matter.
Imagine the clips get stolen by It's a Rob or anyone else for a history video. Maybe. Like if they did a video about Chuck E. Cheese and shit.
Hide your face? They've seen it already.
What are you talking about?
Tough shit, bro.
We've seen the compilation, Mother.
I'm not doing anything.
I'm talking about your face. Why are you hiding it? We've seen it.
Also, why is Hialeah's teacher here? Because I talked to her about it this morning. Oh, Kirsten, did you miss it? You could always catch the replay. Yes. And I might make it into a video. I'll probably have to find an editor to do this.
Another year?
An editor.
Oh, an editor. Oh, I was like, what?
Also, chat, before we end, I wanted to tell you guys a story. So apparently, my friend, who's actually a co-worker at the Hialeah Chuck E. Cheese, I mean, not a co-worker, but like, who works at the Hialeah location, she mentioned that a cast member there got fired due to throwing a kid in the trampoline zone. Like, he couldn't enter the trampoline zone because he didn't have the Chuck E. Cheese socks. And I guess he was crying, so like my guy just literally threw the kid in the trampoline zone and he got fired for that. Look at Mother Entity's face.
What?
Yeah, true story. Now I told her about that. What I
I'm
asked
not
her.
gonna face real. Stop telling me. Stop it.
Now I asked her like when did the Adventure Zone get installed? So then she told us like a few weeks ago, like over the spring break, she mentioned that the it's starting to break and that kids are starting to get hurt. Installed 3 weeks ago, by the way. Okay, this ain't $100 but enough to buy candy, so if it's food, I'm in. How the fuck do you throw a kid in there? I'm still puzzled by that. CEC Hialeah, thanks for giving me this opportunity to interact with Scott. My father's very happy. Luckily, I got Chucky for his birthday as I promised him. Thank you so much. Of course. Damn, that's crazy. What song is this? Oh, I thought this was the CEC Hialeah dance. Candy is dandy.
Oh my
And food is food. Food is good. W stream, yes. If Hialeah hits 2K before the end of the year, Mother Entity will face reveal.
No.
Bet.
No.
So far, you gained $3 today.
No.
Yes, I did.
No.
I was expecting like 100 viewers here today, but who cares? I stole the 2 sticks from Department 18. I think you're 28 years late to the funeral, buddy. Also, I changed my mind, Hialeah.
Oh god.
What do you mean? What do you mean you changed your mind? You look like the very muscular Doug from Victorious.
What?
Muscular Doug.
From Victorious, you gotta pick. No, muscular Doug from Victorious. From. What?
Hold on.
From Victorious. From. And don't put very, just put muscular Doug from Victorious.
I fucking hate you!
Stop! Why are you being so loud?
Rest in peace, Winchester.
I told him he looked like someone from Victorious.
You're
And
40.
when he looked it up, he was like, I hate you all.
You're 41 years late to the
Look it
funeral,
up.
buddy.
Muscular Doug from Victorious.
CEC Hialeah goes to the CEC headquarters and live streams it. In a million years. Don't add muscular.
Yeah, you're not muscular.
I hate you guys. We're not doing the Rip Winchester thing. Bro had ADHD.
You do too. That goes with your autism. Hello?
No, it doesn't.
Yes, it does.
Okay, whatever.
Yes.
Yo, guys, could y'all yell like happy birthday for my dad, you know? I don't know if I should yell.
Yes. Not yell, but like be loud.
Happy birthday, Dad!
Oh, okay. Okay. Not like that.
I'm gonna steal Hialeah's frozen foods.
No. Ow! Get back to stream and get to it and end it. Stop being so dramatic.
You do like Doug the diaper guy.
Bless you. Have you taken medicine?
I just did.
Okay. What did you take? You should have taken the other stuff.
Benadryl?
Yes. So I can help you sleep.
Too bad. I did it.
Yeah, You're getting banned?
Who? Wait, who? Let me see that.
It's the same guy. Yep, you're getting banned.
Oh, that's who you were. That's
Have a great day. Have a great day. Get out.
No, you don't look like him because your hair isn't that color. Build wise, maybe.
No. Stop.
Hialeah looks like Michael Jackson back in 2008.
That's not funny.
Do not refer to me by a guy that's in the Epstein files.
Stop.
Yeah, that's your new name. Hialeah. Bruh. Goodbye, chat. His Chuck shirt, it's all folded.
I think what they meant is wrinkled.
It's not.
You acted like a child.
Shut up.
Okay, end this because you gotta go to school tomorrow.
Get out of my room.
No me hagas así.
Get out of my room now.
If you're gonna talk like that, I'm gonna
Of course
end it.
not.
I'm gonna end it.
Of course. He is not in the files, my guy. Michael Jackson is in the files. What are you talking about?
You did not need to stick your tongue out.
Can you just end it already? Look at the time.
Michael Jackson isn't in the files, you donut. He tried to save the kids.
Let's not argue and get off.
You in 30 years still. What the fuck, my guy? Stop sending me the pictures of Doug the, whatever you call it. Doug the diaper guy. Alright, chat. We're ending the stream.
We'd like to say how nice it was to have you here today.
Thank you guys so much for tuning in. This has been a real dream come true. Biggest night of my YouTube career. I hope you guys enjoyed the interview with Scott Wilson. Like, yeah, that's gonna be it. And that's it. So make sure to like, comment, subscribe, leave a bell icon, and never miss a new video. Join the Discord. Anyways, we out. Have a great night. We'll see you guys next time.
I thank you for your company. Let's plan to meet more frequently, and I will see you soon, my friend.
How many days till you return? I'll count them tick, tick, tick. It seems a silly thing to do, but when you're gone, I miss you.
Now off you go. Until next time, I'll think of you each day. Just leave me with a smile that I can hold while you're away. Though it's time to go, I'll keep my head